your
Facebook page, Barbara Jean Lindsey.
Okay, hold on a moment here. Okay, I'm on Barbara Jean Lindsey's. Okay, great.
There we are.
Now, I'm going to click the play button.
Yep. And it should. Okay, and then I'm going to pull everyone in on this. Edit. Copy. There. And I do this. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. We're going to paste it right there. Okay, we're going to go live in 1 minute on Revolution Radio. There we go. So I'm going to go over to Skype, which is you. And I am going to add Revolution Radio, Studio B, the new one, not the old one. It's the much new and improved one. Revolution Radio Studio. There it is, and we're going to add right now.
We're an anarcho-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week, but all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting, by a civil majority. In the case of purely internal affairs, be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more than quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look, it's just a tissue. I don't believe I'm a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, stupidity. I'll do you for that. You're what? Come here. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. A black knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
Ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
download it to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
and I'm Maggie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. It's Friday, July 10th, and we're coming to you live from, hey, where am I? I have to remember where I am. Yes, Salem. It's Salem, Oregon. And I'm just having a great adventure this summer. I'm living out of my suitcase and seeing where spirit brings me. And, just happens to be that last night and yesterday I was in the woods, these magical woods that my new friend Hale Medic brought me to, and I got to meet his beautiful friend Elizabeth. And then I got to meet their beautiful friend Jan Kinsey. And so we just had a blast last night. We were able to watch a preview of Hell's new movie coming out, which is really exciting. And we did some dancing, and we just had a blast. And I want to share Jan Kinsey with you today. And he's a shamanic practitioner. We'll be talking about his work and everything having to do with our relationship with fairy, the fairy kingdom. And he's also an organizer for the fairycongress.com. That's fairycongress.com. And you can find out about Jan's work also on his Facebook page, facebook.com/shamanismworks. And so we're going to be talking with him in just a moment. Before we get to him and invite him onto our show, I want to thank you for giving so generously to Revolution Radio. We're an all-volunteer station. That means no one gets paid for anything. I've been doing this for 5 years now. And what happens when you don't take any money from anybody, you have the freedom to choose your words and have the guests on that you feel are important. And so that's what we do here on Revolution Radio. We give you the truth, and we have like over 80 programs 24/7. So give generously, go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com. Give whatever you can, $5, $10, to keep us on the air. Thank you in advance for your continuing generosity. And so, without further ado, dun, 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 we welcome our friend Jan onto the show. Welcome, Jan. Thank you for coming today.
You are so welcome. Thank you for the fanfare and the drum roll. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfect.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Yay.
Yay.
Excellent.
Well, first
Excited.
I'd like to talk about how we usually start the show is I have people tell an extraordinary experience. And so maybe we could start off with that.
Extraordinary experience. The first one that comes to mind. So I, kind of in brief, I grew up in Norway. I spent a lot of time out in the woods, a lot of time actually sleeping out in the snow and swimming way out in the fjords. That's a little bit how I grew up. And I developed a very interesting relationship with the spirits of nature. He really watched over me. And so I've been an organizer for the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, which is it's a gathering in the North Cascades in Washington State, which is how do we work with the spirits of nature? So how do we work with the plant spirits, the weather spirits, the She, the Fae, the Sasquatches, the dragons? How do we do this? How do we create a new world? Mm-hmm. And the first time I came to the Fairy Congress, I went there. I'm getting to the story here.
Yeah,
it's such a fascinating territory. Dorothy McLean from Findhorn was speaking at the Fairy Congress. We call it Fairy Congress for short. The website is FAIRY Congress.com. And I can get into a little bit about the history, but so she was speaking about the Findhorn Gardens. She had helped create these amazing gardens out of nothing, out of sand and cold Nordic winds in Scotland, and they created the most amazing, they ended up growing like the biggest citrus fruit, just like off the chart. So she was, and I had read her book, and I was like, wow, I'm going to that. I need to find out, like, what's the blueprint for the new world? And she's got pieces of the puzzle. And she was so grandmotherly and funny, and she was very kind of like, if I can do it, you can do it, so go do it. And this was in 2003. And the experience I wanted to share is that we can create these gatherings, these places where really magic happens, where this interdimensional world comes alive. And I was fairly psychic, but not something off the chart. But I came home with 3 dragons, and I had never entertained working with dragons at all. I think at that time I was working with some of the angels, the archangels. I was kind of your new age dweeb. I worked, I had energy coming out of my hands. I talked to, but that was kind of, and I talked to plants, but nothing really, like dragons I'd never entertained. And there were 3 dragons that made themselves very known to me. And I'm saying this in part, first of all, it was an extraordinary experience, and because when we talk about fairies, a lot of people think, oh, we have these cute little cutesy, they've been Disneyfied and cutesified, and we have cute little, cute things. And it's like, no, we're dealing with, like, we can be dealing with big spirits of nature, giants and trolls and dragons. Okay, so I come home with 3 dragons. One of them, I was sleeping in this little cabin. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to the smell of burnt rubber and burnt, like, electrical wires. And I was like, holy shit, the place is, like, burning down. And it's a small cabin, and in the corner, there's this huge black dragon who's, like, kind of taking up the entire space. He's huge. And I say hello. I'm actually not frightened. I'm kind of just like, I tell him, don't burn the place down. And he had been sent to kind of check me out. He was one of those dragons who's ancient, but he does not like humans. And I don't blame him at all. So a lot of times as fairy doctors or shamanic practitioners, we end up being diplomats. We go between nature. A lot of the nature spirits, the spirits of nature, they're kind of fed up with us. And I don't blame them, but we got to figure out how do we create relationships where we can work together. It's like Fellowship of the Ring from, like, Lord of the Rings.
Right.
We need to create that so that we can create a better world. So I had an interesting talk with him, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's kind of like, just you humans are so strange, and kind of berated me. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but a lot of us are trying to make better worlds, so we both need to shape up, and we both need to have some forgiveness here, and trust me on this one, and help be my guide. The other, so he left me, and then the other dragon that came in was a dragon that I think would come under Chaos Dragon. And he's huge, and he was spinning hurricanes out in the Atlantic Ocean. Wow. And kind of a war dragon. And he was like, yeah, you're going to need my help someday. And I kind of held his energy a little bit, and I was like, holy, this is, like, too much. Like, okay, we'll meet each other. Thank you. This is too much. And then a red fire dragon came in, and she was female at the time, has since switched gender, which is fascinating when you're helping spirits shift gender. But she's been with me since that's like 17 years.
Wow.
So that's one of the stories that I have. So Fairy Congress, it sounds innocent, it's not. It's really kind of, it's funny that I'm being interviewed on Revolution Radio, because we talk about, like, yeah, we're here to change the world. It is a bit revolutionary, but it looks innocent. And it is in some ways, but it's not,
It's big work. It's a big job. It's going to take a whole bunch of us, right? A lot more than we have now.
I know, it is going to take a lot of us, and we're changing a paradigm. And I think we've had this paradigm that we can, as humans, we can have dominion over the earth. And you see where that's gotten us. It's gotten us to a lot of mess.
Yeah.
And, if we work in harmony with nature, with the spirits of nature, we can create a better world. And things will go smoother.
Well, and do you feel like we've lost that, right? That's how we got into where we're at, a part of us that we've lost that relationship? Or was it a fine thread there all along, or we got busy and didn't take a look at it or didn't value it?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, right now we're in this, we've got a lot of things. We got off we got off the path a lot. So I grew up in Norway, and I was fascinated by the fairy tales. And there was a thread that went through these Norwegian fairy tales that had to do with when you gave. I mean, you need to give offerings to the nature spirits, and when you do, they listen and they work with you. And when they do, the cows come home, the cows give milk, the harvest happens, things go smoother. But let's say you build your house. There's lots of stories from like present day Iceland where, if you put a freeway in that goes right over a place where the elves live, you're going to have car crashes. You're going to have accidents happen. And some of these fairy tales in Norway are pretty impressive and pretty amazing that, you would have these stories of somebody who, they built their house right on top of where some of the Huldra lived. And, all hell broke loose. The accidents happen. But when you work with the spirits of nature, there was a harmony. And so there was always this story about, the youngest son who would, he would meet the dwarf and make friends with the dwarf, or, he would befriend nature and he would work with nature. And that really stuck with me. And interestingly enough, I mean, Fairy Congress, the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, is a lot about, how do we develop good relations with our brothers and sisters in the fairy, in the nature kingdom. We're not alone on this path. So I think we also kind of lost our. I mean, there were a number of things that happened, and you can kind of go down that rabbit hole. But we're stuck in a place where we find ourselves in a place where, the climate's not doing well, people's mental health is not doing well. We're dealing with a lot of kind of disasters, and I believe that we can, creating good relationships with the different spirits of nature, we can start rectifying some of this.
Right. It gives us a chance, a fighting chance at least, right?
A fighting chance. And it's like, let's go down, fighting. We're in it. We're in it for the long haul. And we do this because we love this planet so much. Right. And we love, this planet is, when you plug yourself into Gaian consciousness, there is an ecstatic joyfulness that permeates it, and that's who a lot of us are.
Right. And to deal with that and to work with that, when you first start, it's like opening a new door, and you have your ideas of what it should be like. And I think you're right. A lot of us think it is, like the fairy dust and the tra-la-la, which is a part of it, but also there's so much strength in that. In the relationships that you build with the for me, that would be the Sasquatch, or with nature itself she's our planet is alive. I see it as feminine. I'm not sure what your teachings are on that, but that she's alive, and her breath is our breath, her heart is our heart, and that the connection is so strong. And if we can rebuild that, then we have a chance of creating a better future than we have now, because it's and for the generations to come, for the children and the future children.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of paradigms that I think we're shifting, and sometimes paradigms. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm seeing there's a lag between the video and I'm not going to look at the video here then.
Okay.
Let me mute that down. Okay, so we've got a number of paradigms that we're evolving pretty quickly, or we're shifting pretty quickly on this planet. One of the things that one paradigm shift that we're making, or in the process of making, is that the world is alive. You know, we've been operating as if the dirt is, dead, and the trees are, they're not really alive, but everything from this kind of fairy perspective, or the shamanic perspective, is that the world is alive. Everything has a soul. So you can communicate with everything, and you can also work with everything. You can have a tree as your spirit helper. You can have a Sasquatch as your spirit helper. You can have different plants. You can have different, animal spirits as your helping spirits. So yeah, everything is alive, and that's a big shift from where we are, let's say in present day America, where we kind of like, we're selling off just like plots of protected land so that we can mine it. We need to live in harmony. That's not sustainable.
A sustainable harmony, right?
Yeah, we need to have a sustainable harmony.
Yeah. Well, can we go then on to your work, and what is a shamanic practitioner in the realm of, let's say, in the realm of the fairy, or in realm of nature, or in realm of the city too, in the country, in the world, and the cosmos, right?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, the word shaman is a Siberian term that is used for, it is kind of an ethno specific term, but we're lacking a terminology or a term in English. Hold on, I need to shut your video down here. I'm getting sidetracked.
Okay.
But you see the word fairy doctor, medicine man, woman. There's different terms, and I think we're also in the process of creating this, and a lot of shifting is going on, because I think a lot of so a shaman, back to that. This is fascinating when you look at kind of a cross-cultural perspective. If you look at, since we started talking about Sasquatch, wherever you go in the world, you've got stories about Sasquatch. You've got the Yeti in the Himalayas, you've got the Yowie in Australia, you've got the England, I can't remember the name for them. You've got the ancient ones that are hairy. They've got commonalities. If you look at fairies, wherever you go in the world, you've got small nature spirits, you have big nature spirits. Wherever you go in the world, you find dragons. Now that's kind of interesting, except some places around the equator don't have dragons, but otherwise, you've got dragons in Africa, in Scandinavia, in the Celtic. Look at the flag of Wales. Everywhere you go, you've got representations of dragons. Okay, pay attention. Similarly, you've got a shamanic, you've got a man, a woman who navigates between the different worlds, and the commonality, it's just kind of like a cultural commonality, is that you've got three worlds. You've got a lower world, a middle world, and upper world, and a lot of people are familiar with this, but I'm just gonna, lower world is like, underneath the ground here, and you can access a world that is very alive.
Existing.
A lot of times you have your animal spirits there. You've got some of your ancestors will be there. There are different beings of the lower world. And then you've got the upper world, which is kind of like our Christian heaven in a way. There's different layers. You can go above the clouds, and you get a lot of ascended masters teaching spirits, beings in human form, that a lot of times they've been on the planet before, but they've ascended. And then you get the middle world, which is this world that we walk in, but a non-ordinary reality. So you get a lot of the ghosts and the thought forms, and you get a lot of this curses and sorcery, and you get the fairy spirits, the plant spirits, the weather spirits, the dragons. A lot of dragons can actually move between the different three worlds. Sasquatches are here. A lot of times you'll get those, they kind of refer to them as like, we're masters of the middle world. So shamans, and sometimes this differs. I mean, there are places in the South American rainforest that really work a lot with they work in the middle world. They don't really work in upper world or lower world. You have a lot of Mongolian tribes that some of them will move between the different three worlds. And I'm categorizing this to kind of make it easy for brains, because there are numerous levels of middle world and numerous levels of lower and upper world. But a lot of times, some of the Mongolian tribes, the shamans, and I'm using shamans because we don't have another word. And if you say shaman, people kind of know what you mean. Okay, people who travel between the three worlds. They sometimes bring the upper world down into the middle world, almost like a channeling and full body, a full body trance. So you bring your ascended masters into you, and then you do healing work, or you do the work that's needed. So the shaman then is somebody who really mediates between the ordinary community life and the non-ordinary universe of your spirit helpers.
Right. So it's connector, right? It's connecting.
Do that. What was that?
So it's like connecting. It's a connector.
Yeah, it's a connector, and you're doing that on behalf of the community. So if somebody's sick, you've had trauma, you need to find out where the hunt is. How do you feed your people? How do you do divination? Are we going to have a bad winter, a hard winter? You do that for the benefit of your community.
Right.
And then the other thing with the shaman is that you've got some kind of vehicle that will take you between the realms. A lot of times that's that's a drum beat, a rattle. It can be a mouth harp, some kind of drumming pattern that you can like jump on, almost like as a horse.
And
go between the worlds. You can also take psychotropic plants. You can. A lot of people use singing. The Laplanders use a yoiking. It's a singing sound, but it's a repetitive thing that puts you in a trance, and it actually kind of alters your brain waves. So you can go between the realms, and you can find, you can do all sorts of unravel curses and work with the ancestors and do healing work and clean up people's energy fields, and
And so in this, I have never heard of the term fairy doctor before, and I love it. I love it. I do. I love it. Fairy doctor. I like that. There's something to it that rings magical, right? That it can bring, like you're talking, connecting all those three realms in order, whatever it takes to help heal the person. So it's fairy doctor. I like it.
So the fairy doctor would be a lot of this is like multidimensional diplomacy, if you will, and I think that's actually you are a diplomat, and you go between the realms. And let's say, somebody is walking along, they walk into elf territory. I mean, this world gets weirder and weirder. You start going on a shamanic path. You're going to into sorcerers, witches,
all of it,
trolls. I have a Nordic background, so that's kind of like my cosmology that I ground myself in. You bump into gods, and it's all alive, and you've got to navigate it, and it's kind of funny, but it's real. So sometimes, in the Celtic tradition, and I think in the Nordic too, you get. Let's say you build your house on top of a place where the elves live. They get angry, and they shoot you with arrows. So you've got energetic arrows that are in your energy field, like you just had psychic darts, and you feel horrible.
Oh yeah.
Then you go to the fairy doctor who's like intermediating. That person has to go to the elves who did it
Negotiate.
and negotiate. And then you've got to, there's actually some of this was written down in Scandinavia, it was written down by the Christians, scouts who came from the south of Germania or whatever it's called, and kind of wrote the stuff down. And one of the things that they recorded was an herbal recipe for elf shot. So
I love it.
If you've been shot with an elf arrow and you're sick, you're like malaise, you can't get out of bed, there's a recipe for that. That was in the Christian scholarly texts.
I want to know that.
I know, because it was like a series of like 6 different herbs, and there was a whole recipe on how you cook this up and how you apply it so that you can take the elf arrows out of the energy field. Now you can also kind of get a shaman, and you can go into somebody's energy field and you can remove stuff. So you're working with your helping spirits there.
Right.
So one of the things you do is really kind of a lot of healing work and kind of getting people hooked up to their power sources, get people hooked up to their purpose in life, get people hooked up.
Right,
Like a lot of times people kind of, on this, like we've got so much trauma in our world that people, one of the things with trauma is that you either disassociate, so it means like part of your spirit just checks out, which is great. You're going through some kind of early childhood trauma. This came about a lot. It got some publicity with working with Vietnam vets. So you get these guys who are the average age was like 19. They go over, they're in the jungle. They come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, and they're getting just sent to hell. And they come back and they're completely wrecked. So part of their spirit would leave.
Shattered.
Shattered is another one, but and you can do both or all or more. But if you can go in and you can, as a shamanic practitioner, you can find out, okay, what happened and where did your spirit go to, and you can go. And this is where the Sasquatch really come in, because they're masters of the middle world. You can go in and you can find out where is that spirit part and what happened, and negotiate again with that spirit part. What do you need to come back and feel safe? And then you go to the human and go, okay, your 4-year-old kid left because you were around some really toxic people.
Right.
And can it come back now? And are you able to give it what it needs? And it's like, yes, okay, great. Bring that part back, blow it into the person's energy field, seal up the energy field. Great. You can do some amazing work with just that. The other thing is, you said shattered. Some people, they end up with, we've got a lot of trauma on this planet. You get in a car crash, you get sexually abused, whatever, and your energy field gets shattered. And you can go in and just kind of mend the energy field. So pull that person together. And you can help rewire the body. Like sometimes our rewiring our wires get scrambled. Our neurons get off center. So it's not, you're firing off like your bad old spark plugs. It's like, just like you're not functioning. And that's a lot of things where like some of the psychotropic plants can come in and really like rewire the body. So people come out of these like ayahuasca ceremonies and go, wow, I don't need to smoke anymore. I don't need to drink anymore. The rewiring is shifted. You still need to do your therapy. You're never off the hook.
Right. Well, but it brings it to present time more, right? So your body, your spirit, you're more in present and co-creating there in present, I would think.
Yeah, I never thought of it in terms of, what is time? You can get on that.
Right. But as a spirit in a body, sometimes the spirit is growing. Like if you're going through and you're going through these new changes and you're gathering all this information, right? It's new, so you're going to change. So it's a way I'm seeing that where you can have the body catch up and you can work together, the body and the spirit, a little easier, a little more. So it's not so harsh. It's not so traumatic in a way. It's saying hello to it, I guess, putting it out to play, and then you work on it as a shaman to put it back together, let go of what doesn't serve them, and then remeld this whole new them, right? Because we get to be reborn over and over and over again.
I think, there's always more to there's always an X factor, it's this or that, and then there's also this possibility or that possibility, or I'm surprised at how many kind of curses I find. People got family curses, or they got, I mean, there's just so much ancestors. Like, if your ancestors are not on board with what you're doing, it's gonna be hard to like you shift into something else.
Yeah.
If you go to them and get to know them and help those, I mean, you want to work with the ancestors that have crossed over.
Right.
Some haven't crossed over, and they can be a little problematic. But even those, you can help. The psychopomp is a term that's used that's another one. Like, you go in as a shaman and you help. I'm amazed how many women have come in as a client, and they've had abortions, but the spirit hasn't crossed over. The spirit of the unborn child has not crossed over.
Interesting.
They can be impeding you in getting pregnant again.
Wow.
So you need to do a forgiveness thing and help those spirits cross over, and you probably are hanging on to them. It's like, oh my God, it's your child, but I wasn't able to take care of them, and it's the human. Welcome to planet Earth. It's difficult.
Yeah. And with your work, it shows us that we're not alone. If we feel alone and isolated, that's such a lie. It's not true, because there's the work that you do, and there's all of these amazing helpers out there all the time. And it's taken you've had to go through, probably, you have to live it before you can teach it or heal with it.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think the shamanic path is not, it's not easy. You didn't sign up for an easy ride. No, you got to turn yourself inside out.
Yeah. I have two questions for you. Number one is, so your ancestry, so is anyone else a shamanic healer? Did you find out in the past, or are you the only one, or?
This is kind of, I wish I could say, I was raised by my grandfather, who was a medicine person.
I've been in 7 generations, or, but.
What's interesting is that my whole background on both my mother and my father's side is military. They're colonels, they're major generals, they're tank operators, they're and then you go back to Vikings and barbarians, and when I've gone back, no, I don't have, but I mean, no, I don't. But if I go far enough back, I mean, our ancestry, if you go, okay, you got 4 grandparents, and then you have so many great-grandparents, then great-grandparents. I mean, you're getting a lot of ancestry that you can work with. And if you can pull forth, like, okay, who in my ancestor is a healer, is a medicine worker, is an herbalist, I do get some of the ancestors who were working magically. They were working with herbs. They were working with plants. So you can go back in your ancestry and go, okay, how did you do this? How did you work with pandemics?
It's not the first, right?
How did you deal with climate change? I mean, if you're dealing with people who are working, living in the ice age, and of course they're coming to us to go, how do we, I mean, you can go to your descendants too.
Right.
And find out, what did you people wish we had passed on to you? Which is fascinating and so kind of heart-wrenching. But you can go back and you can Yeah, you can help them out. So you can travel the timelines.
Yep.
But my whole background is military, and I think we're in a place where, I mean, we've got white supremacy, we've got toxic masculinity, we've got a Christianity, even though there's a lot of beautiful things with Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
and I love working with Jesus, and I love working with Mother Mary, especially. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity really mowed over a lot of things.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Scandinavia, they really kind of mowed over the whole rich culture. So we've got a lot of things. Yeah, so they put me, okay, I'm a queer tree hugger. They put me in the middle of a military family, so that I get to like
Be tough.
I get to like heal toxic masculinity.
Right.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I got kind of beat up on the way, but I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And find that
lots of stories there. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And the next question was about curse. I always heard that if you feel like you have a curse, then you do, and if you only have a curse, if you give power to it. But let's play with that a little, because I know you know. So I would love to hear your idea on curses, because I've heard it. Oh, that's a bunch of bohooey, and then I've heard that, hey, yeah, I mean, people work curses every day. People, and so how do you know if you're cursed? What is a curse, and how do you know if you are cursed or not? And then 3, do you visit your local shaman like you to help remove that curse if it does have a power over you?
I think it's a really good question. I think first of all, there are some cultures where you have more of a tradition with curses.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some of the like Caribbean culture. I mean, you can go into a botanica that sells, ritual
Mm-hmm.
items, and they have somebody who makes a living off of doing curses, or spells, love spells.
Right.
Those kind of things. If I put a love spell on somebody so that they fall in love with me, that's it's kind of a curse. I mean,
yeah.
But I think a curse is like when you've got, I mean, you can have all sorts of examples. I mean, I think a lot of times the curses came from, or the one of the examples that was used a lot, you get the jilted woman. You get the woman who's like, she's raised kids, and then her husband kind of ditches her for a younger model.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't have any kind of, financial backing, any kind of way of supporting herself. She becomes the old woman in the woods, and she's pissed off, rightly so. So what does she do with all that pissed off anger? That's fuel, and you can direct that in a way to throw a curse on somebody.
So
Curses can be focused on families. They can be focused on. I remember watching this documentary about the Iraq War, and there's this village that has been just like decimated, and there's this old woman, and she's looking straight at the camera, and you can just see like she's cursing your country, your president, all your military, all your everything. She's pulling in power from the land, from her ancestors. Like, she's pissed off that, well, yeah, we just came in and just kind of decimated her whole village, and life as she know it is completely decimated. Yeah, she just threw a curse on us. So curses can be personal, they can be on your family, they can be on your country, they can be on your people, they can be on your gender, and curses can be something as similar as like road rage. Like, you're trying to get to work and somebody just cuts you off, and you haven't had your coffee and you're pissed off, and you throw
energy back.
Yeah, and there's a way of being angry without throwing a curse, but I don't think a lot of people, they can like, I hope you get in a car crash down the road, and like those things can kind of add up.
Yeah.
So you can go back. Okay, let's say somebody comes in and they've had just a string of bad luck. They've got a pattern in their family where, the guys are all alcoholic and the women hate them, or the guys die of heart attack when they're 53, and that's happened in the last 5 generations or something. I mean, you get these weird or string of bad luck, like people just can't get their life together. And you can go in, you put yourself in an altered state, you go, you go merge with your helping spirit, and you look at this person's energy field, and you look at the whole landscape, and you're going, okay, what is the main underlying reason for this string of bad luck? And you could come across, I mean, it could be ancestor stuff, it could be the guy's possessed. I mean, I'm saying the person, the client, your client is possessed by something. Their energy field is just like gunked up with something. And it could be a curse. And it could be something that was placed on quite a while ago, and for some reason now it's really showing up. So you go back to the time that it was set, you find out what was the fuel that really was used. Some curses are intentional. Not that much in our culture. In other cultures, yes.
Yeah.
It can be, what was the fuel? Was it the jilted woman? Was it the person who was just pissed off?
And it can be generational, right?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, you can curse a family, and there are definitely stories of families that just got. I mean, the Kennedy family, I'm sure, somehow got a curse.
Right.
That just sounds so curse-like. Like, whoa, something happened, and curses got set. And you can go in and you can unravel it. You can find out where you can follow the lines to where it began from, and then you can just really unravel it like it's a ball. And sometimes you see this ball of like just chaos.
Right.
Like, what is at the core of this? And you can go back to that person who was really pissed off. And again, you're the diplomat. You're the multidimensional diplomat.
Right.
And you go in and say, okay, here's the damage that was done by this. Now, let's set the record straight. And let's go in and unravel it. And you can also, there you're doing a lot of ancestor work. And you're like, your descendants are not doing well.
Right.
They're dying at 53 by heart attacks. We're getting a lot of heartache here. So you're going in with your complete compassion
and neutrality.
Your neutrality, and you're clearing this shit up.
Yeah.
So people can have good lives, and you have to clean their stuff up sometimes. So it can be really amazing where shamanic work takes you.
Well, it certainly seems like that. I mean, it's your work's not boring, is it, Jan?
No, it's fascinating.
And it's life-changing for people.
Beautiful. This is such a beautiful world, and it's so multifaceted.
We have a question from one of our listeners, if you'd care to take it.
Of course.
Okay, this is from Angie Vukovic. And she asks, can grounding yourself and asking Gaia Earth for guidance through meditation help you make more sustainable, clearer contact, especially with dragons, fairies, and Sasquatch? Is there any sought after guidance you can give us to make contact clearer? We have about 10 minutes before break.
I think it's a really good question. First of all, I mean, we need to do our therapy. We need to do our personal work. Number one, you're not ever going to get out of that one. So do your therapy, do your personal work, and ground yourself. We need to be comfortable in our physicality, in our physical blood and bone and gender and body and breath, and because you need to come back to a body, a physicality that feels comfortable to you. Because otherwise, I see a lot of people who, they go off and talk to dragons, but then they kind of lose part of themselves there because it's kind of a fantasy land. Yes, it is. You're working with some incredible creatures, and you can't live there. You need to have people comfortable in their physical bodies, because this is where we inhabit.
Right.
You can't be
the
off
foundation
in the jungle somewhere where you need to come back to present day America. Can you be comfortable in present day America
Mm-hmm.
in quarantine? Yeah. Okay.
And stay centered.
What was that?
And stay centered.
Yeah.
Like, don't break my calm. Don't break my calm.
Yes, I mean, this is a trick. You know, we need to be, so grounded. Are you, you said Gaian. What was the question again?
I'll read it. It's kind of a couple questions. Grounding yourself and asking Gaia Earth for guidance through meditation, how to make more sustainable, clearer contact, especially with dragons and fairies and Sasquatch. That's a loaded question. So
yeah, it is loaded because I think I've had some people like, well, I'm going to go off and merge with Gaia. They're like, ooh, start with something smaller. You know, start with a plant.
Yes.
And build a relationship with a plant. And because if you start merging with Gaia, and if you're unexperienced, and even still, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can from there. But I you know, work. If you choose a shamanic path, and that's kind of I love shamanism because it's so practical, and I call my business Shamanism Works, which I know is like a car dealership or something. It works. You know, like somebody's got a back pain. Okay, great. We're going to work with your ancestors because you're working yourself to the bone. You know, it's practical. Let's get you like back living in your body, home to your wife. Great. So working with protector spirits, which dragons are excellent for protector spirits. But yeah, visit your dragon, ask to meet your dragon, and when you see a dragon, you will like, are you my dragon? Are you someone else? Or, you know, I'm looking for someone to, you know, a helping spirit to work with. Go to the lower world, go to the upper world. Yeah, and I think it's important to, you know, I keep on thinking like Lord of the Rings, you know, the Fellowship of the Ring. You had these different, you had a human, you had a hobbit, you had an elf, you had a dwarf, you had a wizard, and they all got together, and together they were strong. And same with us as a human. If you can be comfortable in your humanity, in your body, in your blood, in your emotional field, you feel passionate about something, and you can build relationships with the fairies, the weather spirits, the plant spirits, the dragons, the Sasquatch. Great. We got a fighting chance here.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
It's a fight, but it's like we're kind of up against some like we got to pull this shit. Sorry, I'm get kind of passionate here. We got some work to do here. We got to transmute some pollution and some toxicity. And we're doing that. You can just see the world around us. We're having to deal with like Black Lives Matter. Like, wow, racism still exists big time in America. And it's connected to white supremacy and black and you know, toxic masculinity. And we gotta clear a lot of this stuff out. This is getting way too old and way too
Yeah, it's taken too much time. Way too much time.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. And so we're just about to take break, and so people can get a hold of you by going to on Facebook at Shamanic Works, and I left the
thank you.
Yeah, it's in the chat on Facebook, but you can go to facebook.com/Shamanism Works. I think that's it. That's what it says.
It?
Yeah, Shamanism Works. And so, gosh, it's so deep and it's so amazing. And so my mind's going in 10 places, but my heart says I know with me, I'm working with different clients is that the laughter, and that's what I noticed about you, Jan. And when you do all this heavy work and this work in curses and possession and people being in such pain and suffering, but when I met you, you had such a quality of laughter and the jester and kind of like the card from the tarot deck, you know, where he's just got his bag and he's going to jump off the cliff. And so
Uh,
I love that card because it's about possibilities. And so I just see that with your work that it's kind of like you're helping people kind of let go and look at the possibilities that not only them personally, but what we can have as a humanity in our relationship with ourselves and the earth and the cosmos. There's my rant. So
that's a good rant. We need to be comfortable in our bodies, and have joy. Joy is, I mean, right now in America, we've got all this fear and anxiety about COVID. As revolutionaries, we need to like permeate joy and love here, and we need to hold the laughter and the joy. Yeah, we can do this.
We can do it if we do that connection.
Clap in the face of calamity. Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah. I love it. So we have just a few minutes before break, and when we get back, what do you want to talk about? What sounds up? We were talking about, we had a few ideas before the show. We really wanted to talk about your work on fairy and human relations, but what was the other thing? There was something else we were going to talk about that was really...
Well, the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, yeah, let's talk about that one. And then I also want to talk about another, I talked about 2 paradigm shifts that we're doing, and I want to talk about the 3rd paradigm shift.
Okay, we'll do
which
that.
I think is important.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, so stay tuned, everybody. We're going to be talking about the 3rd paradigm shift, and you can reach. I'm going to just do a little shout out now. Next week, we're going to be having Yaz and Ryan on the show, and they will be talking about the Mayan calendar, the galactic calendar, and our connection with that. And they've done a lot of research and work about our relationship with the Mayan calendar, and how that changes us and helps us infuse the galactic code into our genetic codes of life, and help raise the frequency on the planet here. So through through use of the Mayan calendar. And I think that's part of your work too. Once you go in and heal someone, and they just, when they come back, they're lighter and brighter and more vital, and they can take more charge of their life. So why would they get a shamanic, let's say a shamanic healing from you? What would they expect from that? I have a few minutes.
Are you asking the question now, or are we going to break?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you now. We have just a couple minutes, but...
Well, I mean, just, first of all, I think we need, I mean, this is planet Earth. Everybody's going to get a little dirty. You're not sitting in an ashram somewhere. You're dealing with real life matters, and but I like it when people come in with what's at hand. Okay, I'm dealing with chronic back pain. I'm dealing with chronic sinus infections. I can never get a date. What's going on? I'm heartbroken. I'm lonely. I've got anger issues. What's that coming from? You work with what you have, and I mean, there's no judgment here. Like, let's just get this cleared up, and never, you still have to do your therapy. You still have to do your spiritual practice. Right. We're kind of, everything's getting a little mucked up now, so you need to clear yourself off and ground yourself and have a spiritual practice and put yourself in a state of positivity. But sometimes, like, doing a soul retrieval can really shift a lot. Then you can really jump up in your therapy. You can jump to the next octave, if you will. Unraveling curses, getting to know your ancestry, healing the ancestral lineage. Yeah. But coming in, I mean, just with where you are, if you've got a chronic, issue that is just in imbalance. Wow, I'm really depressed. Okay, what's that about? Is it, could be a possessing spirit, could be that your energy field is just gunked up, could be that smoking so much cannabis, and your energy field looks like Swiss cheese, and you're just not able to hold on to
the third dimension.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. We're going for a break, and we'll be back, and Jan will be talking about the third paradigm. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Oscar's freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows a screw.
Guy's feeling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little out of the brain. The neurobiological system is telling it to run. And your knees is such weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is mere insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting endangered. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zed Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Thomas every Friday on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why the story behind the story was Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we want to thank you for giving generously to Revolution Radio. Go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com, and give whatever you can, $5, $10, to help keep us on the air. And oh, there's a little, there we go. And so, oh, we're getting a little feedback. That's new. Let's see what's going on there. Let's see if that helps. And so we have with us today, we have my new friend, JAN Kinsey, and I just find him fascinating. His work fascinating, and he is a shamanic practitioner, among other things. That's what I see. There's like all sorts of things that you do. And like you were saying, it's hard to quantify exactly what it is that you do. There's no real words for it. But I like the fairy doctor that we were talking about. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Barbara Jean. It's been a pleasure.
And we were going to start off with talking about the third paradigm. So can you kind of brief us on?
Yeah, okay. And this has been a lot of what I've discovered with there's probably more paradigm shifts here, but with the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, and with, I'm talking about shamanism and where, almost like shamanic geography of where nature spirits are, if you will. But the whole, animism, if you we kind of got lost in our evolution a little bit, if I can say that.
Yeah.
And, and when you go back to kind of Aboriginal cultures, they have a worldview that everything is alive and everything has a soul. The sun is alive, the moon is alive, and so you sing the sun up and you sing the sun down.
Oh, I like that.
And there's a tradition of like you singing with the shamans are singing the world into motion. I have a lot to learn about singing.
Oh, I love that. So I love
luckily, I've surrounded myself with people who can sing well, and I'm hoping that rubs off on them because they're just like beautiful song people. But then, so the other one is that once you realize that, okay, the world is alive, and everything, the crystals are alive, and the rocks are alive, and the world is, like, Earth, the Gaia is alive, and then you can like, oh, I can partner with nature, I can partner with a tree, and I can share information and knowledge with a tree, or with the fairy, or with, some people work with mermaids, some people work with Sasquatches, and there's a tremendous amount of knowledge and resources that you can work with when you partner with nature. And also you can if you're in a place, you're walking down some scary part of a major city in America, you can merge with your helping spirit as protection. But so everything's alive, you can partner with nature, you create your fellowship of the ring, if you will. But the other part that I think people forget a little bit about is that the world is sensuous. The world there is incredible beauty here. Now that's very kind of human-centric, what's my vision of beauty, but the world is sensuous. I mean, this world it's living and dying and pollinating, and things get eaten and born, and things are copulating, and there is something about beauty. Beauty is important, and beauty will save the world. And you kind of said, you commented on, yesterday when we met, we were both laughing a lot. And it's like, this world is beautiful, despite all the kind of weird chaos and psychopathic leaders that we have. There's a beauty here, and that beauty needs to be celebrated. And when you celebrate beauty, the beauty expands, and it is important, because I don't know if you've ever seen, a dog. Sometimes I do this. I go on a walk and I see a dog, on the other side of the street, behind the fence. I'll just kind of beam at him like, oh my God, you are such a beautiful dog. And that dog will get it on some level, and you can see him start prancing around. Yeah, so bless everything. When you bless something, the beauty magnifies. Bless people in your life, bless the kids, bless your food. When you bless your food, it becomes more energetic. The power of it, you know, it's like got a stronger energy field. Bless your water. Bless your water. Bless your water.
Yeah.
Water is life. I know it's like becoming cliche, but it's important.
No, it's
water is
true.
life. Bless your water.
Yeah.
And you need to bless your own sensuality and reclaim your sensuality and reclaim your sexuality, reclaim your body fluids, your blood. Rejoice in that you have this. This is, I think, where my joy comes from. It's like, wow, sometimes I have to stop myself. I've got this amazing body. It's got fingers, and I can think, and I get hungry, and I get horny, and I get adventurous, and I'm really curious about how all this fits together.
Yeah.
So it's this adventure, but there's a sensuality and there's a beauty with being alive. That needs to be sung to and danced to and moved to. There's a dance beat. Get back on the dance floor. Get back on the dance floor. You were made for dancing. You were made for being part of this world, unless you are a hermit, you know, and very few of us are, I think. Get back on the dance floor. Now, I borrowed that one from Orion Foxwood, who's this Jesus-loving witch, amazing guy. Get back on the dance floor. Yeah, we're here to be part of this world. And yeah, we get to, you know, we get hungry and we get horny and we get beside ourselves, we get depressed and we get ecstatic with joy. We get back on the dance floor. Paradigm shift number 3.
I love that.
This world is sensuous. Be part of it. Rejoice in your sensuality.
Yeah. And the beauty, like the color and the smell and the all the senses. You know, we're told we have 5 senses when we have like 100 senses. We don't have
100 senses,
yes,
right?
Yeah. Where you become that flower, you become that beautiful flower, you become that forest that you walk into, you become one with it, right? You just merge with the beauty of that. That's gorgeous, gorgeous. Paradigm 3, I like that. And the peace in that, there's peace in that. That's what I see in you too. It's what I found a peace in you. Found
there's peace in it, and there's also I was teaching this course down in Costa Rica, and it was for a lot of software guys, mainly guys, straight guys, who are in the software industry, who are doing amazing work with computer codes and, which is not my world at all. But I was telling them this, like, you need to reclaim your sexuality, be comfortable that you are in this physical body that breathes and sweats and, is physical. And so they quoted me the rest of the week saying, wow, Jan says we need to reclaim our sexuality. And they were kind of adorable in a kind of a geeky software kind of like, wow, okay, yeah, get back into your sexual body, because this is a sexual world and it's sensuous, and get back in your instincts. So yeah, they got a kick out of that one, but I'm serious.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because it's more about checking into the body instead of checking out, right? You can go out and go way out there and do all your work, but if you can check back in and really own this, right? Really have a sense of it. We forget. I mean, most people are watching television. Well, when you're watching television, you're checking out.
Yeah.
You know, when you're driving your car, you're checking out. At least I do. Oh, that's right, I'm driving.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of people are disassociating. We are distracting. We're getting distracted by TV, by music, by Hollywood, and we're getting also a new generation of kids who are just terrified of nature.
Yes.
Which saddens me. They are scared of being out next to a tree. I mean, or not. I mean, they're scared of nature. Yeah. I mean, everything's nature, but they're scared of trees and spiders and grass and dirt. They're scared of dirt. Wow. Well, if you're scared of dirt, you're scared of your own dirt. You know,
your own sweat. Yeah.
Dirt's beautiful.
Yeah, I
Your
like
skin is
that.
beautiful. Your sweat is beautiful. Own it. Rejoice in it. Celebrate it.
Mm-hmm. And there's that earthness to it, right? That connection of earth that's in us as well through that.
Yeah.
All right. I love
Yeah,
this.
we got an interesting world. This is such a fascinating time to be
It
alive.
is. It really is. Well, and that it, once you're kind of like outside that idea of matrix too, what the matrix, then you get to come in and out as at will, and so that also comes great responsibility, don't you think?
Yeah.
I know when I
Yeah.
first went
Yeah.
through it, it can be sad. There can be a sadness to it, and then you get through that too. Like, this is so messed up here. Oh my God. Once you really see it, and then by seeing it and not denying it or walking away from it, then you can be free enough to change it. Again, we're talking about that's how we started in the beginning, was how to change. We're going to change this world. And these are some of the ways that you're talking about that we can do that.
Yeah. This is amazing time. So I'm going to jump into, the Fairy and Human Relations Congress. So we've been meeting we just had our 20th. Well, this year got kind of sidetracked because of, or whatever, because of the coronavirus. So we actually didn't hold it officially, but we had a smaller gathering of like 50 people. And we did rituals and we did shamanic journeys. And it was beautiful because it was just small. It was a smaller group.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go in, a lot of times we do shamanic journeys or we kind of just tune into nature and the nature spirits and our helping spirits, because this is a co-creative event. We co-create this event, this gathering with our helping spirits, with nature, with, And one year we were doing a shamanic journey where you go in and you ask your helping spirits, okay, what do we need to learn now? What's the next step? What is it that spirit or nature wants us to learn? You go talk to your helping spirits, the Sasquatch or the dragons or the plant spirits or the trees. What's next? And they were really funny because they came up and they said, okay, we need you to learn how to love yourselves. Okay, number 2, and I love bullet points, so they're like, number 2, we need you to learn we need you to love yourselves. We're kind of tired of this, like, and they kept on like number 3, number 4, you need to learn how to love yourselves. But then number 5, they're like, okay, pay attention here. You need to learn how to work with the spirits of weather, just like you do the spirits of plants. So we have a lot of herbalists in our groups. How do you make really high-powered herbal tinctures that have the energy of the plant? Okay, so we're learning that. How do you co-create gardens? How do you co-garden, where you're working with nature to grow really high vibrational food that just really supports you and keeps you vibrant and feeds your community. So we've been kind of doing that for a while, and flower essences But then it was interesting because they were like, okay, you've learned how to do this. Now you need to learn how to work with the spirits, the weather spirits, and the spirits of your climate, because you're going to be getting some, you've got some, how did they word it? It's like you're going to hit some ugly spots here.
Okay.
And so we did, a couple of years we had kind of a week-long training with Nan Moss, who wrote Weather Shamanism. And I'm just saying this because this is where this work gets very practical. Okay, how do you work? Okay, let's say you got a forest fire, you've got a hurricane, you've got, the temperature is wacky, is just dropping or increasing, or, right, you get 100 degrees up in the Arctic like we have now. How do you go in and talk to nature, talk to the land, and find out what's going on? Because you first want to find out what's going on, and then you want to find out, okay, how can I work with this? Because a lot of times nature, nature doesn't, a lot of times doesn't have, and this is kind of changing, but it doesn't have free will. You're not going to have a forest fire that's going to be like, hey, I'm going to go burn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just kind of fires burn because they burn. I don't know if I'm being clear here.
Yeah,
but
that
it's
makes
like
sense.
nature a lot of times doesn't have free will, but we can go in and say, okay, I've got a hurricane headed right towards my city.
Mm-hmm.
I have a responsibility for the people, my loved ones around me, and for people to go in and intermediate.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stand in a difficult place and I can make difficult choices and I can work with the spirits of nature to bring harmony. So after those two kind of week-long things with Nan Moss, with weather shamanism, you know, we were like, how do you work with fire? How do you work with wind? How do you work with the wilderness? And this is where interesting, like my really connection with Sasquatch came in, because Sasquatch was so like, yes, you want to work with us because we know how to move in the middle world, and we know how to move multi-dimensionally. And I had not I really had not thought of Sasquatch. I don't know. It's like sometimes like I just, you know, I'm just minding my own business, and then a Sasquatch comes into my energy field, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, you're one of those beings. Like,
right.
Wow.
Right.
You know, and I keep on expecting like unicorns to show up, but they have. You know, I think I have to. You know, one day I'll need a unicorn.
Right.
I mean, some people, so the Sasquatch really came in, and they were teaching us, how do you work with clouds?
Mm-hmm.
How do you, first of all, do you have the permission to go in and work with a forest fire? So as I was saying, the couple of years after, so we did the trainings with Nan Moss, with weather shamanism, and then the whole area south of where we are just kind of blew up in terms of forest fires. I mean, it was just horrific. People were losing their homes left and right. People were, you know, isolated in these areas by flames. It was bad. So we would take our skills, and we were like, great, okay, you can get these interactive maps that the Forest Service uses, the fire department uses. And we could go in, and so we would do the shamanic journeys, like, okay, do we have the permission to go in? You know, what's going on? Great, we do. You know, we do have permission as human beings to go in here and work with it. So somebody was working with the ground that was just really dry. Somebody was working with the rain. Somebody was working with the wind. Somebody was working, kind of coordinating all of it together. So we all had our own kind of taste on it. You know, somebody is really working with wind, and it was fascinating what happened, because like, the rain did come in, and when you're working with weather, you've really got to specify what kind of rain you want. Is it, you know, it's got to be at the right amount, because if you get too much, you're going to get flash floods, and homes are going to get washed away. You know, so there's a real beautiful, it's beautiful work. It's beautiful work that we can do this, but can we step up as human beings and take a bigger, you know, with this rise in our consciousness, we have more responsibility.
Right.
And you've got to find out when you can intermediate. You know, maybe that hurricane really does need to go in and wipe out the tidal flats or whatever, because of who knows what. But you can also go in and say, no, hey, people are getting hurt and we're losing, you know, like, so you can go in and you can work with forest fires. And that's something that came out of, the Fairy Congress.
I love that. And so you work as a team, right?
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's fun. I think there's something working as a team that is just it's beautiful. Sometimes we're a community, and nobody has all the pieces.
Right.
But as a community, we all have our piece of the puzzle, and we would get together, we would put all those pieces of the puzzle together. would get like, oh, here's what's going on. We can do this.
I love it. And it seems creative, right? Because you're in the moment. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and let's see how it works. And you're intuitively guided.
Yeah. I mean, it's really beautiful work.
When you're talking like that, I'm feeling like the dragon movie. I don't know why, but that's what I'm. So.
Well, yeah. If you want to clear energy, dragons are amazing, and they're amazing protectors.
I love that.
And yeah, then okay. So we got weather. We've also got places where we need to clear out kind of pollution and layers of fear. So you can work with the land and the nature spirits to do that. One of the things I've been doing, I was living in Seattle and kind of South Seattle, where there's a lot, crime, you get drugs, you get homelessness, and that is all kind of accelerating. And okay, so what happens if you move? You get, you buy a house that used to be, kind of a drug den or something. How do you clear that energy? Okay, you got somebody who you move into the house and there's been some people who committed suicide or a murder, or couples who are just arguing, or you get, drugs can really kind of have a really kind of almost like black, some of the drugs, like Seattle, we ended up with a lot of heroin, or like cheap heroin, kids just kind of going out of their minds. And the energy, sometimes I saw it as like a black tar. It's really kind of, it just globs onto more stuff and more shit and more darkness and more mental illness. I mean, sorry, I'm taking this. Okay, this is Fairy Congress. Okay, we're kind of doing some.
Let's do it.
We got to clean up this planet.
Yeah, let's look at it.
Let's look at it. We got a heroin problem here. How do you clean this out? And how do you, some places I would go in where there would be like, wow, the spirit of the land is just tweaked out on crystal meth. Yeah. You got crystal meth problem here. I remember one land I worked on, and I had to kind of like, hey folks, what's going on here? And they had to like, later come up and it's like, yeah, we had some murders on this land, and like, yeah, you did. Things are not, I mean, this is going to be hard to have a fun community if you've got deceased people walking around, who are just, they want to drink, they want more drugs, they haven't crossed over, or you got crystal meth in the land and you got this like electric blue acid on your tongue, just like sensing into it. So there's a lot that we can do with, weather, with clearing up spaces, creating portals or creating places that when you, like where we were the other night with, I'm going to start, like Hale had created this beautiful, I don't know if vortex is the right word, but you walk into the space and it feels protected. I immediately, like, wow, I felt so comfortable. Yeah. I could just feel these layers just kind of clear off of me because it was just so loving, this loving space. And he had somehow, I mean, there's this whole story about how that thing was created, but it's like, yeah, we can co-create these places. When I say co-create, you're working as a human, you're working with your helping spirits, you're working with spirits of nature, with your helping spirits, if they're in human form or animal form, and you can do a lot of this, and you can create places of beauty and regeneration, because right now, we need regeneration. We're all kind of stressed out, we're lonely, and we're hungry, and we're angry. We're pissed off, right? Need places of rejuvenation. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what Hale had created on his property, was this place, and you walk into this energy field and it's like, oh my God, wow. I just like, yes, can I spend the night?
Right. Can I just, hey, I'm going to go live there.
Bring my sleeping bag and just sleep here. Like, wow.
Yeah. And so we can create that. And Hell has created that. And I just, I think it was you I was talking to, I don't remember, but I heard the Chinos talk. You'll meet them. You probably know them from the Sasquatch conference, the Psychic Sasquatch conference. But they were saying that anytime you walk into a forest, that you automatically go into the fifth dimension. And I kind of felt that at Hales when we walked in there. Right when you cross that bridge, it really is into another dimension within the third, it's definitely not in the third dimension, because you have to, sometimes in the third, you have to have your shields up and, just to be there. And at his property, definitely it was such a higher vibration that you just automatically just go there. Just by being there, you're more open, and in that fifth, feeling safe is a good word.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have different, we're going to have these different realities, like even close to each other.
Yeah.
You're going to have a place of like just beautiful harmony next to a place of
yes,
weird supremacy and racism and
right.
drugs. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
They can be really close to each other. Which one do you choose to be in?
Right.
And how do you go between the worlds? Because we're still operating on planet Earth. And yeah, it's weird here. It's weird, but incredibly beautiful.
And we're getting some answers of things that we've lost. And that's what I kind of see you're talking about with the Fairy Congress, is that you, and with your work, that you're helping people bring back or take it. It's our right to have our relationship with the earth, our relationship with the weather, and that we're amazing, powerfully brilliant beings that been shut down for a while, and we're opening up and taking our planet back. How's that?
I love it. And we can be ecstatically joyful. That's your birthright, to be in a state of joy, like own it. Get back on the dance floor.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to segue to your work, because you said that you do a monthly meditation and a guided meditation. And could you talk about that with it?
So first of all, I just want to give a shout out to Michelle McKinney. So,
okay.
And this is interesting. I'm going to do a little segue. So 5 years ago, I got diagnosed with some really scary medical stuff. And they were like, well, if you don't clear this up, you're going to be dead, kind of. I mean, that serious. And so I went down to Brazil to work with John of God, who's a spiritist. He does a lot of good work. There's a lot of controversy about it, but I had some amazing healing work. And then I was doing ceremonies with ayahuasca. But then from there, I was getting so much like downloads, I kind of love that word, but how do I do this? So I'd been studying shamanism for a long time. It was it felt like it was a natural thing for me, but I had to really study. I had to really get an excellent baseline, like energetic hygiene. How do you know who you're working with? How do you responsibly clear somebody's energy field? How do you check in? How do you develop really good relationships with your spirit helpers? If you find someone who's enchanted, enchantments is not something we talked about, but sometimes you get people who are just like, they're locked in some enchantment, and you have to go in and unwind it and find out what kind of beliefs hook them in. A lot of times women will get really hooked into an enchantment about what it means to be beautiful. And their lives can be run by this. And we're getting people who are just kind of, hey, we need to bring you back. You're kind of enchanted. Okay, I lost my train of thought there.
Michelle McKinney.
Okay, so, so Michelle McKinney. So I was just studying with her. She's got I'm doing a plug for Michelle here, because I think it's really good. If you're going to do this work, you need to have really good energetic hygiene and boundaries, and be able to set really good containers so you can work in. Because when you start creating containers, you can have energies that slip through that aren't of the highest good, and you can get,
Right.
ancestors who haven't crossed over, who they, they're hanging around. They really want another drink, and they want the whole, you get the point. So so I got a really good, really, I think I'm like a firm foundation with her. I'm so grateful that I was able to study with somebody who's got that high caliber. So we decided to do a shamanic journey on the third Monday of the month. And a lot of this is like, okay, so working with our helping spirits, what do we need? A lot of this is because right now we're coming, we're dealing with quarantine, and we're dealing with fear, and people are depressed and they're lonely, and that. Mm-hmm. What do we need for our own rejuvenation and our own nourishment, our own soul nourishment? So that is every third Monday of the month. That's free. It's on a Zoom call. If you go to Shamanism Works on Facebook, you can look under events. You have to sign up for it. It really does help if you've got a training in shamanic journeying, meaning how you've got helping spirits that you can work with. Mm-hmm. You kind of know the lower world, the upper world, the middle world. If you've got that, if you actually want that training, contact me, and we can put together a course, because this is valuable information. Mm-hmm. This is valuable skills, navigating between the different worlds.
Yeah, I like it.
So you get the basics, because you can I'm not that you can go wrong, but you actually can go wrong with some things. You can kind of get, but we're courageous people. I think the people who are called to do this work we're courageous. We're really curious. We're really courageous, and we're willing to go out there and clean some shit up, because that's who we are. We love fiercely. We're here to help out. We incarnated on this planet because it's like we're needed, and we're ready, and we're doing the work. Mm-hmm. So please join us on Monday, the third Monday of the week, which is this Monday.
Excellent. What time?
It's in the evening on the Pacific Coast. I think it's from 7 to 8:30, if I remember correctly. Let me see if I can bring the time up here. And I'll be leading it this Monday. Sometimes Michelle does it. It's from 7 to 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. So that's West Coast United States.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And afterwards, you're welcome to post that on the Barbara Jean Lindsey Facebook too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Another thing that I liked about you too is you're free. We have such freedom. We don't care what other people think.
I know. I've kind of given that one out. Yeah, I think
that's part of the work. I think it's part of a shamanic training. Number one of the shamanic trainings. Don't care what other people think.
Well, I think also, you've got to have some self-esteem here, because you end up standing in difficult places and making difficult choices. Mm-hmm. And we're not alone. This is so interesting with this. Yes, we're not. I'm not a hermit. Being in quarantine has been hard. I broke down. At one point, going, "Oh my God, am I ever going to salsa dance again?" I love salsa dancing. Right? It doesn't work on a Zoom call. I miss tango dancing. I miss dancing and enjoying, fun with people.
Right.
So. But I have a wealth of spirit helpers. This universe is alive. I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. I lost my train of thought again. Yes, so you've got to have good self-esteem.
Yes, exactly.
So you can come along and say you're crazy, and I'm like, yeah, but look at,
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm confident. I've done this enough, and I know that what I'm doing works.
Yeah.
If I don't know how to do it, I've got a spirit helper, and I can ask them, "What do I do here? Help me out." And I can get like, "Oh yeah, you need to talk to this person." I can figure it out.
Yeah, I think for me too, when I was learning, and I still learn, I kind of just go with what I'm interested in, what my desire is to learn about. It seems like, it's just kind of a good way to go where, where I was firewalking instructor for a while because I was interested in fire, I wanted to know about it. So
Well, I think if we follow our desires, I mean, our desires it is your body speaking. As long as you've cleared it up enough, so you're not becoming a sugar addict or whatever you're craving, but that it's a true desire. Like there's joy in desire. Yeah. Okay. I need to go salsa dancing. Just do it. Don't analyze it. Go salsa dancing.
Right.
Throw myself on the dance floor. I use a lot of that analogy.
I like that. Well, it takes risk. You take risk, right? Risk is the fun part, the risk part.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, it's joyful. You're feeling more alive. Go do what makes you feel alive. Great.
And usually, so that means shaking things up, right? We got to shake some things up. That's the dance floor part.
Yeah. And you got yourself, and I mean, we're here to shake things up.
Yeah.
We're here to.
That's where the fun is for me. That's where the fun is for sure.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who are like, they're listening to this for the for the first time, what do you say to them? Like, wow, how do you get to where I am right now? It would probably take 200 lifetimes and then some. I'm not sure if they take their first steps.
I mean, I think a lot of our, we're more powerful than we give ourselves credit. And yeah, we need to do our therapy. A lot of us have been through some really hard knocks, and we're pretty tenacious, and so yeah, I mean, do what brings you joy. I think that's a good one. Do what brings you joy. If you love working with the elderly, go work with the elderly.
Yeah.
If you want to be an emergency room worker, go do that. If you're working in hospice and you just love that, you just like, go do that. The world needs you. If you want to work with software code, go do that. Do what brings you joy. I mean, some people love accounting. I mean, I'm like, wow. Can you do my books? Great. I really enjoy this work. I mean, somebody's got to do it. A lot of people would kind of freak out with this, like, like you're unraveling curses and you ghost busting. Like, you got to be crazy. I love it. I mean, that's what I'm kind of feel like I'm built for. I'm talking with trolls. I can. Oh,
let's talk about trolls. That was on my list.
Well, that's so interesting. It's not that. I mean, it's funny that kind of came out now. First of all, I think this universe is bigger than we can imagine. We've got different types of beings. Some of them are very culture specific. Some of them are, universal, but you're going to have very geographic differences. The trolls in Norway, and there is something called trolldom. There is a trollkraft, meaning like troll, what do you call it? Like the ability to work with trolls. Now, trolls have my understanding, and I'm definitely not an expert here. Trolls are a little mischievous, meaning there's a lot of different people on this planet. I mean, you got fairies and extraterrestrial people and underworld people and different all sorts of plants and guardians, and this world is very alive with all sorts of people. So be street smart on who you work with. Stand in your power. You can say no, you can ask for yes. If somebody approaches you and asks you, you can say no, back off, 6 feet away. We're learning one thing about coronavirus. We're learning about
boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah. 6 feet. Okay. Put your mask on. I don't trust, where you've been. and other people, yeah. So, you learn boundaries. Trolls are really interesting because they can kind of, this is where I think Tolkien actually had a good representation in The Hobbit of trolls. They're not the brightest kid on the block, but we're kind of measuring this in human intelligence, which is
limited,
just Kubrick. But a lot of times they can create like avalanches. Like they don't know what they're doing. They kind of bumble along. And if you get on the bad side of trolls, and you definitely don't want to get on the bad side of trolls, they can wreak havoc. They can kind of create avalanches. They can create like thunderstorms. They can kind of mess things up. But you want to befriend them. You want to treat them honorably. And sometimes you have to be a little street smart. You come across a troll, and I haven't done this very often, but sometimes you come across things in nature that are, when you meet a dog or a cat, and it's not a very bright animal,
right?
And it's just like it's peeing in the wrong place, or it's spraying, or it's marking its territory, and it's kind of, you really have to kind of set it down. And this animal communication, you can really do that. You can really kind of, one animal is beating up on the other animal, and who knows what's going on, but go in and talk to your animals and just set them straight. You're going to kind of have to daddy them a little bit. Same thing with trolls. You got to put on your daddy hat, or you're like, no, not here. What do you guys need? And sometimes you have to give them something that will sidetrack them. Again, you're kind of a diplomat. Sometimes it takes some street smarts. You might have to give them a drink. You're playing the little tricksters here.
Yeah.
Not tricksters, but your goal is to not have less avalanches. If
right.
If that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Or
that makes
having
sense.
This stupid stuff is happening, and you go in a shamanic journey, and you're like, wow, we got a troll problem. Okay, how do you work with trolls?
Right.
But then again, trolls is very kind of Scandinavian. I think we've got different versions of trolls everywhere. They're not Sasquatches.
No, I don't see that either.
When I grew up in Norway, I experienced some old forest creatures that when I talked to some people, they're like, oh, they're trolls. And I was like, no, they weren't trolls. They were very deeply intelligent, this knowledge, this wisdom, but very protective and very kind of old and kind of moving slowly. But when they move energy, they can move a truckload of energy really kind of quickly if they are motivated to do so.
I love that. Well, thank you. We have a question from Marie, if you'd like to take it. Marie Wright Strickland, she says, I know that it's illegal in the United States. Okay, you have our interest. But those that would be interested in taking the ayahuasca journeys, do you recommend anyone specific?
I have people that I work with. Because it is an illegal substance, I can't, put anybody's shingle out. But I would say, so here's an interesting one. So there's a lot happening on that forefront. So the ayahuasca is a combination of the ayahuasca vine, which is this, it can be a really old vine, and there's lots of different types of vine. You get the red vine, the green vine, the gold vine. And then it's a combination of that and the chacruna leaves. Now, these are it's fascinating because it's, in some ways, a nondescript vine and a nondescript plant that has these nondescript leaves. And you put those together and you brew it for a certain amount of time in a right ceremony, and you can create a liquid. When you ingest it, it gives you visions, and it can do a lot of healing work. It really takes you inside your body, into your nervous system and your organs, your DNA and your cells. You see the mitochondria, and you can work with, do incredible healing work. That plant has originally was grown in the South American rainforest. Now it has kind of gone. Plants can use us to get around, and it's now being grown in Hawaii, in the Caribbean, in Bali, in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's getting around. And I don't know about the chacruna plant is also being grown in different places. And it was my understanding because I was kind of talking to the plant about this, like, wait a minute, so, we're taking a plant, we're taking this culture, out of the rainforest. We're doing it in places in the United States with maybe a plant that was grown and made into, done where you do the ritual where you condense it into you boil it down into this, thick liquid. So, that was done in Hawaii, and here we are in America, and we're, singing other culture. I mean, how does that work? Like, I mean, I'm kind of fascinated with the whole thing about cultural, rip-off, what do you call it, when you appropriate something else that's not really yours. But this plant was so, like, it so wants to help us do our work and help us heal the planet. And it really wants to get out of the rainforest, because the rainforest isn't doing too well. I mean, look at what's happening with, Brazil. I mean, like, they burned down, like, how much of the rainforest? So but, put your feelers out, ask your helping spirits to guide you to the right place. There's lots of people who are doing ayahuasca who might not be the best people to work with. Trust ask for references if you can. Trust your instincts on it, and if somebody's doing something that you don't feel comfortable with, like red flag, pay attention to red flags. Yeah. I was really lucky to come in with a really good group of people who had really good integrity and were very heart-centered. And I also, working with Michelle McKinney, she's such a stickler. We had so many great conversations, great discussions about how do you work with protection and how do you really power up your energy field so that you can work with someone. I mean, working with ayahuasca is pretty intense. Yeah. And some people can they lose their soul somewhere, they go somewhere, they get possessed. You're working with some intense energies, but hey, we're trying to do some good work, and we need some really good insights, and I think ayahuasca can really help you think outside the box. And yeah, we need to be thinking outside the box, because we're not doing too well right now. Yeah, so that didn't really answer your question. I can't really give out names, but
no, but you gave us
there's some good people. There's some good people out there, and there are some people who are not so good. Trust your instincts on it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And also not to be taken as like a cocktail drug like every Friday or something.
Yeah, I know. That's that also scares me with some people who are doing cannabis a lot. I see their energy field kind of looking a little bit like Swiss cheese. I think when you're working with these plants, befriend the plant. Go and talk to the plant. Go talk to the tobacco plant. Go talk to the cannabis plant. And if anything else, before you, have a cigarette or before you are smoking cannabis, introduce yourself. Say hello to the plant spirit. This is a spirit that's alive. Tell them who you are. Introduce yourself. Say a prayer. At least you're doing it in a sacred manner that I think really kind of shifts things. Another thing, like if you're drinking a lot of caffeine, that can kind of put holes in your energy field, which means you're not as strong. You get kind of wiped out, and then of course you drink more coffee and you get a weaker energy field. So and you see the people who kind of smoke a lot of cannabis. I mean, I think cannabis is great. It's all these plants are here for a reason.
Right.
And you can befriend them, and they can do. I mean, look at what they're doing with the CBD oils. Great, amazing. If you can help people with cancer, with their pain levels, fantastic.
Yeah.
You got a lot of, look at the whole opioid, addiction chaos that we're in. People are like dying left and right. Yeah, get the CBD oils out, get this plant out there, but also treat people how to use it with respect.
Right, exactly.
Because if you misuse it, you can get the green bitch can come out and kick your ass. If you use ayahuasca and if you step up with just kind of I want this plant to help me with my business plan so I can sell more tchotchkes to, you're going to get your ass kicked. So step up in a good integrity. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. We're almost out of time.
And we didn't talk about the Fairy Congress, but maybe another time.
Well, yeah, but they can find it out, and it just happened, and I'm gonna be there next year for sure. I plan on it. I've been wanting to go. Yeah, so it'd be nice to have you there. And Marie writes, "Thank you for your information." Jan, and she says, appreciate you so much, and I believe in out of the box. That's what the listener
well,
says to you.
We gotta think outside the box, man. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah. So if they want to work with you, they can go to Facebook, and
I just keep on the website has not come together, but Facebook, Shamanism Works on Facebook.
Okay.
Fantastic. You get your contact information there. Great.
Yeah. And also they can go to fairycongress.com and check that all out. And so what are you doing next? What's your next big thing you're going to be doing?
Well, I've just moved to Portland. And
Yay!
I just met some amazing people like you. I met you yesterday, and that's opened up a new world. There's some beautiful people here in Portland. And I've been working a lot with land, how do you clear land and how do you help land, the spirits of land create places of rejuvenation and places of transformation.
Oh, I love that.
And right now we've got a lot of stuck energy. I'm fascinated with how do you clear tear gas? We've had a lot of ongoing protests in Portland, which a lot of it is needed. A lot of it is get over it, people. You've made your statement. This is just destructive. How do you clear that kind of energy? And you can do soul retrievals on land. How do we bring back? How do we rejuvenate this place?
Yeah, I love it.
My next thing, rejuvenation.
Okay, I love it. So keep us posted, okay, on what you're doing, where you're going. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today to the Cosmic Oracle Show. It's been a real pleasure. We've taken you down the fairy path into the alternate realms. Hopefully we've inspired you and healed you and made you laugh at yourself, and also see that, where we go together. That's as a one beingness here. And want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I'll keep you posted. I don't know where I'm going to be next Friday exactly yet, so I don't know where the show's going to be coming from. So we'll see. I really don't know. So it'll be really interesting to see where I'm going to be. And so I do want to thank again Hale Mednick for having me and taking me to a special Sasquatch forest with Dawn Nicholson and I, and we just had an amazing time, and I'm looking forward to going back there. And let's see what's going on else. Let's see. After that, we have a Mayan calendar next Friday. You don't want to miss Yaz and Ryan. I wish I remembered their last names, but I don't. But I'm going to have them on, and they're a beautiful couple, and they really have a lot to share about the Mayan calendar. I'm really looking forward to learning about that. And then after them, we have in July, quite a month, we have Terry Rivera is going to be on with her husband, Tom Johnson, and the House of Fake Ops in Peebles, Ohio, near the Serpent Mound. You're going to love them and their work. And then on the 31st, we're going to have Michael Lee Hill and Cheap Golden Light Eagle. So their work, and it's phenomenal, and they have a lot of information to give to us as well. So July is like a wild, crazy month. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week at the Cosmic Oracle Show. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thank you.